everybody. Welcome to our Healing Voices podcast and YouTube channel. I'm Aaron Lehman and really excited for my interview today with NATHAN SERVILICAN. We'll dive in here momentarily with him, and yeah, just really excited to hear him share today, to talk a little bit about his journey up till now and the healing journey he's been on and that he's currently on. I think that's one thing that I'm loving about these conversations, about this podcast, this YouTube, is the opportunity to really dive in with others and realize we all have a voice at the table. Our voices are really critical, and that we can really learn a lot from each other as we're willing to ask the questions, as we're willing to take the time, breathe, and listen. And so, yeah, man, I'm really excited that you were willing to have me interview you, and just really excited for our dialogue today. Yeah, those of you who are brand new to this YouTube channel, this podcast, welcome. And those of you who are back, welcome back. Really quickly, for those of you who are new, the vision is for us to realize we're not alone on this healing journey, that there's a lot of folks out there around the world, in our neighborhoods even, in our communities that are saying yes on a daily basis to, hey, how can I love myself a little bit more today? How can I show up, more peacefully to my kids, to my neighbor, to my friends? I think that sometimes on this body, mind, spirit wellness journey, as we're healing, sometimes it's like, am I the only one doing this? Am I the only one doing this? And I know, and I pray that you all know that you're not the only one, and that we're in this together. And as we're taking courageous steps to heal ourselves. We're not only doing that, that's not only benefiting us and those near to us, but that's benefiting people across the world. Like that healing work you're doing is benefiting so many. And then, yeah, like I said initially, your voice, my voice, Nathan, your voice, our voices are so important to just to take the time to listen to one another. And to be willing to learn together, grow together, and ultimately heal together. So all that to say, welcome. And yeah, man, Nathan, I'm so excited to have you here. I know we go back to when you were, you said, were you a sophomore? Was it, or when did I meet? Was it your senior year in 2011?
2011, yeah, was Cougar Town, I think.
It was at Cougar Town. Okay, so we actually met. Well, I mean, I think I knew of you prior to that. I definitely know. I knew of you. I'm not sure. You never had one of my classes, but I know I knew of you prior to that. And I was trying to recall whether it was wrestling, because I used to go out and watch the wrestling team, because I was one of my students, Trevor Southwick, was there, and he was wrestling, and I'm like, as you and I were just talking, I'm like, you had to have been wrestling at that same time, with in that same world. So, and then we met at Cougar Town. I had actually already left the classroom teaching, but I came back that spring. I think it was probably the fall or spring of your senior year, and Cougar Town was like a diversity training, which, that did kind of, I think, connect us all in some pretty special ways. That was such a beautiful retreat and experience, I think, not only for you all as students, but me as as an adult advisor. It was just such a powerful experience to again, part of this not feeling alone, right? That we're not the only ones that have been through junk in our lives, and we're not the only ones that have experienced difficulty or challenge or trauma. So anyway, fast forward, we've reconnected here in this last 6 months, and I'm just grateful and excited for our conversation today. So yeah, man, why don't you drop in a little bit, share a little bit about yourself, and give us a little bit of a glimpse into where you're at right now. I know you're into holistic music therapy. Tell us a little bit about kind of, your day to day right now, and kind of what you're doing, what you're sharing. And then we'll dive into some other questions too.
Absolutely. And I let me just start off by saying thank you so much for allowing me to have this voice on your platform, and thank you for creating this platform for people to listen to and tune into, because you never know who can be affected by this, right? We think so much that, oh, it's, it's just us doing this healing journey, but it's everybody, so I just want to say thank you. I'm humbled, honored to be on here, a guest on your podcast. Very appreciative. So I'll start off kind of where I'm at. I am finishing up my music therapy internship with mindful music therapy practice under the supervision of Debbie Krett. And for those who might not know what music therapy is using music as a tool to help in the rehabilitation of individuals with special needs, autistic, traumatic brain injuries, really anything. The field is really open for us, and we use different techniques to help transition people that have, disabilities or all the above. So that's kind of where I'm at, finishing up this month, actually, in a couple weeks. So super stoked, super excited. And then from there, I can go ahead and get my board certification. And I can open my own LLC or my own practice. But I think for me, the journey going forward is to continue gaining more holistic practices like Reiki and massage therapy and aromatherapy and maybe possibly nutrition, because I'm all about that wellness and the food and what we're ingesting, and maybe even some kind of psychiatry, sociological kind of aspect, because I love hearing people and having people decompress and talk about their feelings. And so that's where I'm at right now is working on the music side and kind of hustling with a job. I work in the emergency room as well. I'm really blessed and grateful to meet you and to have met you. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Amazing. So tell us a little bit about, really quickly, share a little bit about, what's the emergency room reality? What's that? What role? Yeah. Tell us more about that.
So I'm just working in administration. It's just the insurance part of it. And I got that gig through a buddy of mine. And going into the medical field, really any medical field, I think it pays well. But as I started to kind of progress and kind of see a different side of Western medicine, I was like, yo, I don't know if this is the right path for me to take, because I feel like Western medicine, it doesn't treat the root of the problem, right? It just treats kind of the surface area, quick fix, and it's not really super beneficial for people. It gets people hooked on a lot of opioids and kind of pharmaceuticals. But I'm still very grateful to have a job in these trying times. But going forward, I think I am in the process of looking for something more natural, something that helps people more holistically. But I've been working in the medical field for probably like the last 6 years, doing kind of the registration aspect and kind of the insurance coding and getting people in and seeing all kinds of different people, and definitely working in the ER, you do see death. So that's been a huge aspect, and really for me, death always, it makes me appreciate life so much more, because you never know when a loved one or when somebody is going to pass, and it really makes me grateful for life and for my life and our souls, right? The journey of the soul. We're only here for such a short period of time, and I'm so appreciative that you're doing something like this, because the soul's journey is so short. So that's where the kind of the job base is right now. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. So, and then music therapy swooped in at some point. Like where'd that come from? You've been in music for a long time, or where does that interest and passion come from?
That passion, I think culturally that's ingrained as well, as a Native American male, and being around powwows and cultural gatherings, like dances and feasts, during certain solstice periods. Music for any culture is so it's just there. It's always been there, and it's a way for people to communicate. And that very as a young child, going to these cultural events with my parents, and my parents really wanting me and my siblings to have this in us, and make sure that you remember your culture, and make sure you remember where you come from, and to be proud of who you are. That was always there. So we were always exposed to very early, traditional Native American music. And from there, it kind of switched over to a passion in jazz. And I started to play jazz in high school. And then from there, I was kind of debating on what I wanted to do with that, because I didn't want to be like the struggling musician, and want to be able to support myself financially, but still be able to have music in my life. And fast forward to like senior year in high school, it's so amazing how the universe just throws you things, and it shows you just all these really interesting things when you ask for them, And I had come across an interview with an Arizona politician by the name of Gabby Giffords. And Gabby, unfortunately, was shot in the head, kind of point blank, at a shopping center, I think down in Tucson. And the interview had to do with a music therapist going in and helping her regain her ability to read, write, speech, all these different things using music therapy, because music, as researchers have shown, it works every area of the brain, nearly every area of the brain, and stimulates all these different functions. So one area that's damaged might not be functioning super well, and then the other area that's still functioning well can send over neurons, send over all kinds of different elements to that injured side, and that's kind of it helps neurologically. There's a lot of neurologic elements to help in the rehabilitation of people that have suffered traumatic brain injuries. So when I saw this interview, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is that moment. This is what I want to do. This is the ability to help people through music, and I went to ASU, studied music therapy, played jazz. I love jazz. And also played classical saxophone as well, studied classical saxophone, and learned, piano and guitar, and worked on all those different instruments that are required in the therapy setting. And then, it started with that interview with Gabby Giffords, and watching her progress as she, was healing, physically from this gunshot wound. So that's where it came from, was seeing this, and I was just like, wow, that's it. That's what I want to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really awesome. That's to be a senior in high school, to see that. And then it just is like light bulbs go off. You knew, I mean, music's in you culturally, and just like, it's your parents both really encouraged you to explore it, and play an instrument. And anyway, for that light bulb to go off, and you're like, okay, wow, man, yeah, again, I mean, this is that journey, right, of the modalities of how amazing our bodies are. Amazing. Just like, just the way in which music can help us heal. I mean, it makes 100% sense to me based on my experiences with music. And right, I mean, I know, like, when I'm listening to specific music, I walk away with a different energy, I listen to other kind of music and my energy's different. Anyway.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Man.
absolutely.
That's awesome. So currently when you're working with your clients, like, is it a mixture of music that you're using, or I'm curious to know, like, just for people listening, I mean, who knows? I mean, somebody might have have music just in their cells. You know, we all have music. I think we all do, but maybe somebody listening is kind of unsure of what they're doing with their life. Yeah. What would like a normal session look like? Just for those people to have like a visual of what your work is all about.
Yeah, so I'll take you for example. There's a session. There's a clientele base that I have at a facility that's for individuals on the autism spectrum. It's a kind of an assisted living apartment complex for individuals on the spectrum. And I go in for an hour every once a week, and we start off with a kind of the sociological aspect. So we're working different motor functions of sociological, psychosocial, motor, cognitive functioning, speech, and all these different things. So I'll go in and I'll start out a session with getting these clients, kind of like an icebreaker, right? Getting them to kind of communicate. And I'll start off with like a hello song. So I'll do like hello, how are you kind of thing, and get everybody's name, and they'll ask me how they're doing. So what I do is I'll put a drum out. I'll have them kind of a big drum, and ask them how they're doing, and they tell me their name, and they say, okay, I'm doing well, I'm not doing well. And then I'll say, well, how does that sound on the drum? So they'll physically play how they feel. So it gives me a gauge of physically kind of seeing how they're feeling, because so much of what we express, you know, music expresses what can't be said, right? It's kind of an inner expression of the soul. And so that's kind of how I start off, right? So to kind of get a gauge on how everybody's feeling. And then I go in and I'll do like a lyric analysis, do like 3 songs. And again, just trying to get to know the clients. So I'll say, for example, I'll do like Me and Julio Down by the Schoolyard by Paul Simon. And I'll say, okay, so who is your Julio, you know? Where would you go if you could go anywhere, if you could travel anywhere? And that kind of really starts breaking up the conversation and kind of allows them to open up a little bit more and kind of a get to know you. Or we'll dive into lyrics that have some pretty deep stuff, you know? I think one of them was I was singing The Middle by Jimmy Eat World, and I was playing that song, and we were focusing in on a couple of lyrics within that song, lyric analysis. And I said, you know, there's a lyric in there, something that goes like, you know, you shouldn't be concerned with what other people think, right? And you should be your own person. And I go to each clients and I say, well, what does that mean to you? What does this lyric mean to you? And how do you exemplify that? How are you your own person? And so it turns into like this kind of community healing, like therapy session, where the music is just a tool to help them get out of their shell, to help these clients talk and socialize. And then I'll break out drums. And I love doing drum circle music therapy because just like with jazz, it's a communication, right? The clients are engaging and communicating in a common pattern, that it's a universal language in the room, and we each take a turn improvising. And I love improvisation because it's like a way for the soul to be able to speak, you know, and like, this is my turn to say what I want to say in a musical fashion. And each client will go around and they'll improvise, you know, within this beat. And then that's basically at the end of the session, and we say goodbye and say, we'll see you again next week. And again, if you all need, you know, to talk about anything, I'm here to talk about. And we encourage, you know, feelings of negativity and feelings, any feeling really, and for them to just talk it out. And it sounds cliche, but, you know, I always say, you know, this is a safe space. And I think the first thing is just making the clients feel safe and feeling comfortable. So we'll kind of start off sessions with that kind of format, making sure they're comfortable, and then opening up and communicating musically. So that's how a session usually goes.
Nathan, wow. I love that. Yeah. I mean, so, as I'm hearing you talk through it, it is, I mean, I want to be a part of a session, you know what I mean? Like, as you're talking,
Yeah.
I think that, sometimes, I mean, I think about some of my experiences with drum circles and just feeling insecure like
Mm.
with my, with the drum, and like, ooh, you could tell people that have rhythm down, and then, it's
Mm.
like, right. Have rhythm
Yeah.
down,
Yeah.
like, or, like we kind of all have this brain. Oh, I'm not musical, or, those people are musical.
Mm.
So we
Mm.
kind of like box ourselves out of, yeah. So I sometimes, when I've been in drum circles before, I can get a little lost in,
Mm.
I'm off beat. I'm not, that beat
Mhm.
doesn't work, or what. Anyway, so I just love that. I mean, it sounds like such a liberating session that you take them through, and just allow them to
Mhm.
express, like you said, feelings. Yeah. Music allows somebody who maybe verbally wouldn't know how to express all that's going on
Mhm.
inside, or why that's going on inside, but they're able to like move their body, and
Mhm.
make music, and have a release. That's
Exactly.
that's so amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and sharing that experience with somebody, it's so amazing. Watching the kind of light bulbs go off, and saying, seeing them physically, that, like you said, they can't physically speak, or they can't say how they're feeling, but they can demonstrate it, and it's really it's such a beautiful experience watching that. But yeah, it's great.
Yeah, man. Just for me, it's like, it's so needed, right? I mean, I think, as I hear you talk through it, I'm like, this is critical, as I'm thinking about the next 20, 30 years and the next generations. Like, as I'm thinking about solutions, right? I'm doing my best in the midst of this interesting world,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes saddening world that we're living in. Like, I'm like, all right, how can we continue to make shifts over the next 20, 30 years that are positive for the earth, positive for our brothers and sisters, positive for all people, every single
Mm-hmm.
person, and, I think when this gets me excited, I'm like, holy moly, music
Mm-hmm.
therapy needs to be in like a class. The kids are just
Mm-hmm.
being raised learning.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And I pray that we, as a society, incorporate things more holistically, like music therapy, like nutrition, like taking care of the planet, like you said, making sure that we're ingesting clean products in our houses. And that's kind of where you got me on with that whole Young Living product, and the essential oils, and infusing those into my everyday cleaning routines, and making sure I'm not ingesting harmful chemicals, and really praying for a more holistic society as we move forward into these crazy times. But it's yeah.
Yeah, well, it's I think for me, it's just encouraging that it's happening. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
there are other beings like yourself, and other communities around the country, around the world, that are like sharing this, what you're, similar, unique, but like, so important. It just feels so
Mhm.
important to me. So that just, as you're sharing it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like game changer stuff, and
Mhm.
especially as I
Mhm.
think about all that we're processing as humans, the just emotionally, mentally, energetic stuff from back in the
Mhm.
day, from our ancestors, stuff that we
Mhm.
carry from generation to generation to generation. Um,
Mhm.
it's things like this that are going to help us. Like, okay, okay, yeah, don't need to. That doesn't need to be a part of the next generation. It's like,
Mhm.
we can leave that. We can leave that behind, and here we go into a new world, into a new way of being. So
Right.
anyway, just big gratitude for what you're doing, with the company you're working with, and what y'all are doing there in that Phoenix
Mhm.
area. And yeah, I'm really proud of you, and proud of that offering. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
so
dude.
much.
So fill me in a little bit. So this has been awesome so far. But I want to know a little bit, if you were to go back, on this up till now, you're 26,
7.
27. Okay.
Yeah.
27 years old. As you look back on this, your time here on earth thus far, like what,
Mhm.
have there been a couple, game changing moments or specific, things that could be experiences. It could be just like, um, something that you were raised learning or whatever, like what, what's impacting how you show up today? I know that like because for me, it's like, I just really vibe with you. I really vibe with your warmth, your energy, you're interested, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like,
Mhm.
it's so exciting when I get to hang out with you and to go back and forth with you over the internet. It's like,
Mhm.
dang, yes, Nathan, go, man. And so, yeah, how are you who you are, man? Why, what is what's been huge in your world up till now? Have there been specific moments back growing up? Yeah.
I definitely attribute a lot of who I am to my parents, and that's where it started from was my relationship with my parents, and similar to you, right? Growing up in a household that was very, very loving, very warm, very stable, and open to talking about how we were feeling about things. Grew up with two very loving parents. My dad kind of came from um, his father had a military background and was an artist actually and a teacher. So just a really, really gentle person, but at the same time had that military side of discipline and making sure that you show up for your family and that you take care of what you need to take care of. And so my dad incorporated that. My mom, on the other hand, grew up. She was the daughter of a single mother, and she was the caretaker for. She had two younger siblings, and she was the caretaker for them. And so she was kind of took on the mother role while my grandmother was away, and their relationship together. They just formed a very strong relationship. It wasn't always like that. I think I mentioned to you when we were talking in person that my mom had trust issues and they had to go through therapy and talk about where that was coming from and unlearn, I think from her unlearned childhood trauma and their environments that we grew up in, my two younger sisters and I, was just a very loving environment. We were just very close, very tight knit. And growing up, I didn't realize that until I had seen my other friends' families, and understanding, whoa, not all families are like this. Every family's different, but I didn't realize just how fortunate I was to grow up in a family that was so loving, so supportive, and just very, very, a very loving family. So just very blessed. But that's kind of where it started from with my parents. And then I think the second aspect that it came from was growing up and getting involved in sports, particularly wrestling and swimming. And I still to this day am very try to be as active as I can because that really relieves a lot of stress. And swimming came first. Living in Arizona, right? We're all around the pool and water, and I love to I was a fish. I was just constantly in the water growing up, and it just kind of became a thing where it was just very therapeutic. After school, we'd go in and just get some laps in and go to races and meets, and it was so much fun, and meeting the people that I had met there during the high school and so forth was such a great experience. And then wrestling, the same thing, that team aspect, but the way in which the wrestling is different is it's just you out there, and so you're responsible for yourself, and it required so much discipline. And going forward, that's where I kind of attribute a lot of the discipline and kind of the perseverance and just chugging and getting through tough situations was through wrestling. And that taught me a lot about my character, and it taught me a lot about just working, really working hard. And that was a huge monumental moment in my life, was particularly wrestling. And then going forward, again, like I said, it was probably seeing Gabby Gifford, watching that interview, and those elements definitely attributed to who I am today. So.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I hear you saying just big gratitude for your family, and the way in which you were raised, just warm, loving, supportive, encouraging, home. Yeah. For both you and your two sisters. Yeah, that is such a gift. And yeah, I totally hear you on, I mean, I feel you. Cause I also feel that same way of just like, and not that your world was a flawless world, or, your like my parents, my family system was a flawless world, but so much goodness. And it is such a, I hear you. Like when I compare, where you're like, you go to somebody else's house and you're like, okay, this is how, all right, this is different. This is different, very different.
Right.
And then wrestling and swimming also were huge, just on like, you talked about wrestling being this like almost discipline of like, okay, if that's my goal, like, all right, what do I got to do to make that happen? What kind of, focus do I need to bring to this, to my training to get there? Yeah, man. And then the Gabby Gifford thing just being like a huge moment of, okay, I love music. How can I continue to share this? How can I continue to share this passion, this, the joy that you feel when you play music, and like, wow, and benefit and bless others and help others on the journey. So, yeah. Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So curious, as you're talking through that, and thinking through that. So what, so I'll just go with like sports world, and you just talked about like, and your own just self-care journey. Like, today, what is it that, how do you stay consistent, like, and what are you consistent with currently? And have you always been real consistent on like healthy habits, or is it been an evolution, like so currently what are you up to, just as far as like wellness goes? You said you like to move your body still, and you talked about stress relief, like just fitness in general is kind of a stress reliever for you. Say more just a little bit about that, about your current wellness habits, and anyway.
The current wellness habits, for me, that really, really work, and I would encourage other people to look into and try. First of all, I think food, right? What we're consuming is so important and really, really makes a difference. I've been listening to a lot of Sadhguru. And for those who might not know, Sadhguru is an Indian guru, and that talks about wellness. It talks about the mind. It talks about the chakras and working in. But he focuses a lot on food, and he says you should be really wary of how food affects you after you eat it. So if it's something that's taking a long time to digest, right, it's in your stomach for a while and it's not making you feel great, pay attention to that. And but that kind of came from, I think, wrestling, because I had to make sure I was on weight. I had to make sure that I was at a certain weight class to wrestle. So I had to make sure that my diet was really, really clean, and that so I wasn't putting on a lot of unnecessary weight. So I think that's where it kind of came from, was through wrestling, making sure that I was making clean eating choices and making sure that my body was functioning at the optimal level it could to perform. So from there, I was pretty much I did eat a lot of meat. And then as I think I got older, I started to kind of look into things that I wanted to switch more over to plant-based eating. So I became plant-based just to kind of, it affected my, my mind. It had a different effect on my mind than I realized, going meat-based. And I'm not saying that, one diet is better than the other, but something that works for me definitely is eating more plant-based, fruits, vegetables, my grains, and doing a lot of minerals, because I realize that the average, content of what we're consuming it's very mineral deficient. And so I started intaking a lot of mineral aspects. I've been taking Irish moss, which is very loaded in vitamins and minerals. I've been taking Shilajit, which is a Himalayan plant compound. It's like this, or it's kind of almost like a tar substance from decomposed plant material. And that has really helped my mental clarity a lot. And another aspect that I've been using, I use a lot of turmeric and a lot of cayenne in foods and a lot of different seasonings. Matcha, cacao, acai, just a lot of foods and things that have a lot of minerals in them, and seeing how that affects my body. Ashwagandha, I've been using ashwagandha a lot, which is a kind of a mood enhancer, an Indian mood enhancer, and growing. I've been growing a lot of fruits and vegetables. I had a garden actually. And seeing something grow is such an amazing experience. Seeing life kind of grow and then being able to consume that life yourself it's a beautiful experience. So for wellness, I would say definitely food and being conscious of minerals that I'm taking in. Definitely. Lights, being conscious of, when I go to bed, not throwing off my circadian rhythm. So I'll do, dim lighting, like we were talking about, kind of more natural lights, as the day goes on, and then as the day slows down, kind of more softer lights to not throw off my circadian rhythm, that my sleep schedule is really, really circulated and that I'm getting an adequate amount of sleep. Of course, exercise is great. And I think something that isn't said as much as talking about how we're feeling. I think as a society, we're so programmed to just be like in this rat the rat race, right? And just like a 9 to 5, just kind of in the zone. I'm just gonna wake up, go to work, come home, eat, and then repeat the cycle, But not having that time to sit down and talk with a loved one and say, hey, I'm feeling stressed today. I'm feeling overwhelmed. And this is why X, and talk about those things. And that, I think, came from, early on with a childhood friend who is bipolar depressive. And growing up, he had actually lost his father and a cousin of his, and they passed away very early. And he was circulating through a lot of emotions. And I think that early childhood friend helped me be able to talk about and listen, and really hear what he was saying and listen to him and talk about feelings and talk about where you're at, because you never know really where someone's at unless you sit down and have these, deep conversations like we're doing, and say, hey, tell me where you're at, tell me what's going on, and where does that come from? What's your childhood like? Where is your childhood trauma at? How can we go back and improve those areas? So I think self-care for me was definitely another aspect of self-care, was talking about feelings. Was a big one. For sure. And music, obviously music is a huge self-care aspect. I like to do hertz frequencies. So similar with we're creatures of a physical realm. So, with incense, you do that with the concept with incense is that you smell this fragrance to induce a certain aspect, to change your kind of your mindset, right? And so the same thing with sound. You can do the same thing with sound and why music affects us, in different ways emotionally. So I do a lot of hertz, frequencies. So the concept behind that is that there's certain frequencies, say 432 hertz, for example, is a frequency that resonates with the body, and it's a healing frequency. And so we resonate on frequencies, and the earth resonates on frequencies as well. So when we tune into those frequencies, we're also tuning into very primal aspects of our nature. So that's an element that really helps me kind of wind down and decompress during certain times. So those are some healing, some self-care elements that I like to do.
Wow. Yes. Okay. Wow. That's wonderful. Just to get get a run through, I think that, yeah, you definitely you're rocking lots of zones. Getting to chat with you last week was so nice and was definitely like super encouraging for me. I walked away feeling encouraged and like, okay, what am I consuming? What am I consuming? What am I watching? What am I, spending my days like that my eyes are zeroed in on, focused on, right? If I'm spending 2 hours a day on the news, if I'm spending 3 hours a day of scrolling, Facebook posts and Instagram posts, like what's that doing to my brain? How's that impacting the way I'm then showing up for myself, showing up for those dear to me that I care about? So it's really nice to have you kind of just go through these different facets and elements. Yeah, man. Tell me, because I think the journey is, so we probably have, because people will listen to this. Some people have been engaged in their body, mind, spirit wellness journey for years. Other people are, a few years, newer to this world, this holistic world of like, okay, what are these different elements of health? And then other people are like brand new. If you were to offer, yeah. And again, we're not, we're not doctors. We're not sitting here like,
right.
do this and you're going to, but like, yeah, what might you recommend? If somebody were this was one of the first introductions to like holistic health. What might you recommend somebody take a look at, or, or start with this piece? Did you start like, obviously you started with lots of loving and kindness in your home, and that has influenced how you then show up. But as your own individual holistic wellness journey, was there a place where you started and then it just kind of evolved from there? What might you recommend to somebody if they're newer to this wellness, natural wellness world?
That's a great question. I am very kind of routine based, so I like to make sure that, so for any individuals out there that are routine based, that like to have a schedule for how they go about eating and consuming their food. I like to start my mornings out with tea, hot tea particularly, because anything that's hot, and I'm sure individuals that are heavy coffee consumers will notice that you have to use the restroom afterwards, and it cleanses the bowels out, particularly hot substances. So it could be hot water, hot tea. I'm not a coffee drinker. I get a lot of energy from the supplements I use and the minerals that I'm consuming, so I don't have a need for coffee as a stimulant. But I do recommend tea. So I'll start the morning out with a nice, chamomile or something kind of calming to start my morning out. So a nice kind of warm tea. And then from there, I'll do a smoothie. So I'll start loading in, turmeric, acai, loading in kind of a bunch of fruits, right? My bananas, a lot of fruits in those smoothies. And it gives me just energy to just plow through my day. Usually, I'll probably pop a couple a Shilajit or something like that. But I'll usually, to start, I'll do a tea, and then I'll do a smoothie, and that will give me enough substance for the majority of the day. And sometimes I won't even eat lunch, and I'll wait until dinner, because it's so filling. And when you start to take in more minerals into your diet, you realize that you don't need as much food, and you don't need a lot throughout the day to keep you going. So for anyone listening, that's how I usually start out. And then I'll have something light, like maybe like a sandwich at lunch if I need to, or like a protein cookie, or, some fruit, some mangoes maybe, just to kind of get me another up. And then for dinner, I like doing bowls, like a rice bowl with a lot of like fresh vegetables, some maybe like some sauce. We'll mix up some sauce with that. But yeah, kind of like a denser meal at night, and then something kind of mineral dense in the morning. So for anyone listening, that this resonates with, tea in the morning, or like a smoothie, and then maybe like something light in the afternoon, and then in the evening, something a little bit more denser with a lot of vegetables in it.
Love that. Love that. That's, yeah, great. I appreciate you doing that, because I think, yeah, I mean, I think it's such a journey, right? Where it's like, okay, where do I start? Where do I start?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes can feel overwhelming. So it's nice to, yeah, great ideas there. Mm, mm. Yeah, as you think back to kind of your own holistic, yeah, I mean, you've just offered such good pieces. I'm trying to think back to like my own journey of just like of wellness, and wow, I wish I knew when I started this wellness journey, or have there been any like aha moments? I mean, you worked on the mineral piece, like just how most of us, because so much of our food, the soil's so weak, which means the mineral
Mm,
content of the food is so, there's
right.
a lot of stuff in there, so I totally resonate, and definitely want to do, even myself, I want to, after listening to you, I want to do more research on some minerals as well, because I mean, I'm eating quite clean over here, but
Yeah.
I'm not really like, I'm not, I've got a couple supplements that I'm consistent with, but
Mm-hmm.
so anyway, you've definitely got me intrigued there. But were there any aha moment, like any other aha moments that were like, wow, I wish I knew back then that this was like, I would have done that differently, or I would have started with, anyway.
A big aha moment for me was, I was watching this, again, being really careful with what I'm consuming visually. The videos that I'm watching, I try to be, I try to kind of gauge and see how it affects me. But anyways, um, one video I was watching was this, it's called the Goop Lab, and I think it was on Netflix. And there was this series on cold therapy, and this gentleman that was using really, really frigid temperatures to help stimulate the body. And what he was doing is, he was first having, it was like a session. So he would have all these people lay out on their backs, and he would have them start breathing, and he was having them like breathe in rhythm and get their breathing cycles to be more deeper, and to stimulate the body to relax. And once he had them in this cycle of relaxation with their breathing, he moved them out, and they were up in Lake Tahoe, which is kind of on the border between California and Nevada. And he had taken them outside. And there was snow on the ground. And anyone that knows that Tahoe is kind of in the middle of this mountain, the Sierra Nevada mountain ranges, and it's snow water. It's very, very cold, especially in the summer. And he took them out there and had them jump off this pier into this freezing cold water. And they had to focus their breathing, and to get their breathing in sync so that they could withstand these really cold temperatures. But what cold therapy actually does is it stimulates the body to produce white blood cells. So it fights off of infections. And for me, I was like, wow, when I started my music therapy practice, I was working a lot in schools and I was getting sick so much being around kids. And I was like, what is this about? I'm eating really clean. I'm watching, X, Y, and Z. Why am I getting so sick? What's going on? And so I started to take cold showers and started to read up on minerals and what I could do to boost my immune system in the best way possible. And that was another aha moment for me was exposing myself to really cold temperatures in the showers, actually.
Yes. Yes. Okay. That's great. That's great. I respect you. I respect you and your cold shower life. Cause it's funny. I mean, I think I need to do more. I think you're referring to that. It's Wim Hof, the Dutch man.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And
that's him.
I
Yep.
saw that episode. And this last year when we were in Amsterdam, I actually took like an intro to Wim Hof, like the breathing technique,
Mm.
like at a yoga studio in Amsterdam. And it was amazing. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like we were there for an hour doing this breathing
Hmm.
session. I just walked away feeling so much energy.
Yeah.
I had like, I mean, it was almost like I was seeing colors
Yeah.
during the session. I was like, holy
Hmm.
moly, just
Yeah,
breath.
supposedly he's never been sick. Like I mean he has like probably early on, but when he started this breathing practice and this cold therapy, hasn't been sick in years. And so for me, I was like, what is he doing that I can incorporate myself into doing to help prevent sickness? And so but what was it, Wim Hof?
Wim Hof. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, totally. That's amazing that you're already like just locked in on that. And I definitely, it's funny. I watched it with Sarah and I was like, will I, like, cause it's so real. It's so real. I mean,
Yeah.
the science is there. It's not just like, oh, this, maybe this would help. Like they literally
Right.
they'd have science of this, of how beneficial it
Right.
is. And it's like, and Aaron, when are you going to start taking your cold showers? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because I mean, I've been taking warm showers since I was 38, or for 38 years.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with warm showers. Especially before bed at night. It helps you sleep. But I think there's a good, life is about balance, and I think it's good to incorporate cold with the warmth.
Thank you.
It's yeah.
I needed to hear that because I do. My brain sometimes is like, it's all or nothing, Aaron. It's all or nothing, and it's like,
No, there's always balance.
yeah, thank you for saying
And,
that. Yes, yes, it is. Um, Well, Nathan, fill us in a little bit. I would be curious. I'm on the journey right now. Sarah last night, I was like, hey, I said, emotionally, I was a little thrown off this afternoon. We had like an interesting interaction. And then I said, sometimes I wish I wasn't so emotional. Is what, like
mm,
last night, because I was
mm,
raised by two counselors. So I was, just very encouraged to verbally process. Uh,
yeah.
and I love it. I'm so grateful. But sometimes I'm like, man, because, I can't just like suppress when I get triggered or whatever, I can't just
Yeah.
shove it down and like, oh, no big deal. I'm good. Like
Right.
it's much more difficult for me to do that. And so she showed up and listened to me really well, and just 20 minutes of listening, and was able to like regroup, and she just showed up for me. But I was struggling just with like my own insecurity, which,
Mm,
goes back to junior high, goes back to high school days, college
mm,
days, of just like, comparing myself to other men, comparing myself, to what other men have created, what other men have, what other men are doing. And,
yeah.
you know, so anyway, that's just a little insight on like what I'm kind of healing through and processing through as a 39-year-old. Yeah, man, I'm just curious, like what are there, and obviously, your sacred space is your sacred space. Your sacred healing is your sacred healing. But if there's anything you would like, anything you're working on right now that could be, could be helpful for those of us who are listening in, where that you're, that you're evolving right now, or in the process of releasing or cleansing out. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a mantra I really like to use is that, and so much of our society is so focused on the ego, and it's, having these material things and having X, Y, and Z, and to understand that, you, Aaron Lehman, you're on your own journey. You're on your own healing path, and I can't judge myself based off of you, right? I mean, you're your own person. You have your own journey. And I think, Kate and I were having this conversation about not judging where you should be. We all have these age markers, right? Like, and if we say like, oh, at 30, I'm going to be married, having kids, I'm going to be here, I'm going to be, and the whole aspect, life is so amazing because it's constantly changing, and we're constantly changing. Our cells are constantly, they're dying, and they're constantly changing, and we are different people than we were. Sorry. So let me kind of change that around. For me, it's understanding that, we are on our own journey, and that we are, I shouldn't judge my success based off of your success, so that's a big one, for me, is kind of reminding myself that. I think physical touch is really, really, really necessary for me in my own healing, right? When I'm kind of feeling low, give me a hug, right? Give me a deep hug. I need physical connection. I want to hold your hand. I need a big hug. I need to, cuddle or something, I just need to lay and just to kind of be comforted and taken care of. So that's definitely one for me. And yeah, those are some big ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the coaching you're doing of yourself, right? Where it's like, I feel like so often that's really, a lot of my, like I'll write a post or, write something on Facebook or Instagram, and I literally am just coaching myself, and I think that a lot of us we're just, we're just all on the journey. Like you said, unique journeys. And so I hear you saying that some of the coaching you're doing is like, all right, the journey of like, where am I supposed to be? That sometimes you have to like, okay,
right,
ground out, not get lost in some of that ego stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a made up concept. We make up these kind of idealistic lives for ourselves, but the whole part of it is, it's the journey that, I think I mentioned this while we were at lunch. There was a Sanskrit teaching that there's no mistakes, only lessons. And in each mistake we can take back something. And you are a mirror as I am a mirror onto you. And if there's something that you like, that's something that you also like in yourself. But on the contrary, if there's something you don't like, you can say, hey, what is this person mirroring onto me that I might not like in myself, or that I'm having a hard time trying to process within myself? And that's like some deep healing right there, is when you're taking a look at yourself in retrospect and saying, what do I need to work on,
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. Let's shift here. I would love to, because this is fun. I love this. Thanks, Nathan.
Same. Like what we were talking about at lunch, I feel like we could go off for hours.
Yeah, totally. Just grateful. I guess I would be curious, I know that it's just been like you see it everywhere. A lot of people are struggling in 2020. How are you? How are you not getting lost in the struggle. And also, because again, we both, I think, we've been aware of, like, okay, there's stuff in the world that goes on, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
not necessary. Like if you and I were to design our own little society, or our own little
Mm-hmm.
country, I think we would have pretty like-minded ideas as to how we could set that up in a way that would be really supportive and encouraging and fulfilling
Yeah.
for all the parties, all the people there. Um, yeah. How are you? Yeah. How do you process that? You know,
Yeah.
because you're online enough. I mean, we've connected via Instagram and Facebook and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you're seeing stuff that I'm seeing, and I know a lot of people are just getting hit up and inundated just nonstop with a lot of what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
How are you staying peaceful? How are you staying peaceful? And are you feeling like, when you see what's going on, or you learn of things
Mm-hmm.
going on, um, how does that impact you? How does it influence then? How is it influencing you? Does it influence your visioning? Anyway, just curious your thoughts.
Yeah. I think for me personally, it's really hard to not go down that rabbit hole of just like, oh my gosh, like all these crazy things are going on in our society. It can be, I think for me, for a while there, I was like getting really obsessed with just inundated with all this information. I was like, what good is this doing? And in retrospect, I had to sit down and say, you know what, is this really beneficial for me right now? Am I causing more stress? Am I really affecting, those around me that could be triggered by some of this information, right? Because a lot of people, aren't, ready to have those kind of deep conversations of what may be going on. Or, I mean, so I think sitting down and saying, I need to take a step back. I need to make sure that I'm not triggering my, brothers and sisters out there. And I think that was the first moment that I kind of needed to kind of slow down a little bit and say, whoa, 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 I don't want to make sure that I'm triggering anybody. I want to help heal, and I want to help assist, with people's higher consciousness and their growth.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you were definitely pivotal for me in that moment, because I was like, man, Aaron is having these platforms like Our Healing Voices, and having it, he's focusing on the positive, right? He's focusing on the light.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem like he's focusing on the negative, and all the kind of junk out there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should kind of switch my consciousness over to the light a little bit more and focus on the good, right? Focus on what can I do for myself? What can I eat? What can I get, can I consume? Can I really being conscious of what I'm feeding my mind, because the subconscious is constantly taking and being inundated with so much information that it's overstimulating sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I, had to kind of sit down with Kate, and we kind of had this conversation, and just say, hey, you know what, she had to say, I'm feeling overwhelmed with what you're putting out there right now. Maybe you should take a step back. Maybe you should slow down and kind of focus on your health, focus on your wellness. And so that's something that's helping me kind of get through difficult times, is how can I be the best I can. And that, I think, is with, the food and the water, that really helps me kind of turn the psyche around a little bit. Meditating really helps, even if it's just for like 5-10 minutes. If you can get up to a certain increment of time, it's really beneficial, to kind of sit down and have some time, quiet time for yourself. Maybe in the morning. Yoga really helps. Deep stretching is really helpful in trying times like this. Doing something, going out into the public, right? Serving your fellow brothers and sisters. And therapy really does that for me. The music therapy really helps me, because I'm serving, I'm helping. What can I do to help serve and help make the world light, shed some lightness? So we'll take some time and go off. I had an experience with a young homeless person last Friday where she asked me for some money, and I said, I don't have some money on me, but I would love to give you some food. And I had some pizza with me that I got from the Whole Foods. So I was like, here, let's take a slice of pizza, And I think doing more for the invisible people out there, the people that are suffering, and those folks that might not have a job right now, and showing up for individuals that are really struggling in these times. So, maybe going to a food bank, or donating clothes, or something like that, shed as much light as you can in situations that seem kind of dark or that heavy, because there's a lot of eclectic energy, going on right now. And I'm sure we all feel it. We're all feeling the shift, but it's important to constantly, spread the light as much as we can. And it's forced people, I think, to see themselves, especially during the quarantine states, where we were forced to kind of be in and with ourselves, and sit down and look at the other man or woman in the mirror. And maybe there were some elements that folks didn't like on the other side. And so I think there's been a lot of self-growth and a lot of self-healing going on. And it comes from within first before you can help other people. You have to be able to help yourself first before you can help others. So that's kind of what, where I've been at, as far as trying to kind of counteract the heavy,
Yeah. I appreciate your reflections there, because that, I think that, there's surely some listeners that are, it's the journey of being an empath and being somebody who cares deeply about others, right? Who cares deeply about the evolution of our species, and, yearns for equality and yearns for kindness to be the way of the world. Right. And it's like, and when you see it up in your face every day, natural human instinct. I mean, I've felt all sorts of emotions the last 6-7 months, from deep sadness to intense anger to, just all across the board. And it's like, okay, this is, for me, I just appreciate that it's like, what do I have control over? Right. Who do I have control
exactly
over? At the end of the day, who do I have control over? The other night,
yourself.
Yeah, exactly. The other night I had a dream. Before I woke up, I was with a friend, and I was doing some like Reiki healing work on them, and I was helping them release shoulder pain, like a shoulder pain. And I was like, and I basically was like throwing it out, and I was like, you don't have to carry it anymore. You don't have to carry it anymore on your shoulders. Like, cause, and this gentleman that I was like helping release, like he's shown up in my life as a man who feels like the responsibility of the world is on his shoulders, like that. And so like, anyway, it was just this, but I know I see that in him, cause I am that as well. Right.
Yeah.
So
right.
I'm totally reminding myself to like, hey bro, hey Aaron, like, okay, one day at a time. Where's your breath at? I appreciate what you said. Like, if I'm walking around with stress energy, how is that going to benefit my music therapy clients? Right.
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 Yeah.
So it's like, or even just at the ER, at the hospital, like, how is that going to influence the energy in that space, in the people you're rubbing elbows with? Right. It's like, so continuing to be aware, and find specific ways or strategic ways where it's like, oh, I can show up in that way. Awesome. Anyway, so I appreciate you just sharing kind of how you've been processing it. Cause I just know that it's been an interesting year. And like, I think we both have similar prayers that this is a part of an awakening. This is a part of an awakening where we're cleansing out a lot of stuff, where people are saying, you know what, I actually don't really like that job I've had. You talked about the rat race earlier. It's like, my prayer is that this COVID reality is also like people saying, I didn't actually like that job that I've been doing the last 14 years. Time for a shift, or you know what I mean? Or,
Right.
so I think, and again, acknowledging the deep pain that's out there and the deep sadness and the, you know, the deep anguish that a lot of people are feeling, and just gonna, you know, like you said, where can I be supportive? How can I be supportive? And yet not walk around so weighted, so stressed that I can't even show up for myself. I can't show up for my partner. I can't show up for my friend. I can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it comes down to the basic of the basic element, I think, of to counteract that heaviness or all this energy that we're feeling is, and it sounds cliche, but it's love. You know, it's love, it's kindness, it's showing up for yourself in those ways, you know, love and kindness, being kind to yourself, loving yourself, but also showing that love and kindness to maybe somebody that you might bump heads a little bit with, or to say, you know what, I'm going to be the bigger person and I'm going to show love and kindness to the situation. And, you know, maybe putting that barrier up of saying, hey, you know what, if you're not ready to show that, maybe saying, hey, you know what, for my own emotional health, I need to put a barrier up, you know, a protective barrier of just, you know, it's okay to not be okay, but it's also okay to distance yourself from people that maybe you're not gelling with, you know.
Definitely. Wow.
So
Yeah, man, I'm appreciating you so much. Just, yeah, all that you're sharing. Yeah. What, so tell me a little bit about, you know, you talked about, you know, your dad is Native American, indigenous,
yeah.
blood, like, and tell me a little bit about, you talked last week during lunch, you shared a little bit about kind of a new awakening, almost like happening within you, just and becoming more in touch with that part of you.
Yeah,
Do you mind sharing a little bit about that journey? You know, like you know,
absolutely.
as a white man that, you know, we've done these ancestry.com things, and I'm like finding out my ancestors go back a long ways, and
Right.
which is sad. Like, it's anyway, it's just this is a reality where sometimes I'm just like, holy moly, what is this, you know, world we've created, you know, on indigenous land, you know,
Right,
like,
right.
and so I'm just curious to know, like, yeah, about this search you're on, this awakening you're on, and what that's feeling like to you, looking like to you right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think those roots have always. I mean, that's who I am, you know. And my parents always made that an element to be proud of, you know, and to remember that, you know, your people were a spiritual people that lived off the land, and that they, you know, incorporate a lot of natural energy and a lot of healing elements, and so really getting in touch with the roots, you know. And I think that's something we should all do as we go, you know, what are my ancestral roots, and what did these ancient people that I came from, what did they do, you know, what did they eat? Because I guarantee you they were probably a lot healthier than the majority of the population now. You know, they were much more active for sure. And so for me, it was kind of, well, what can I do that, you know, my ancestors were doing? You know, what elements can I bring forth? You know, maybe more plant-based, right? You know, throwing in, you know, occasional, you know, like, yeah, just more traditional, like, healing methods. So saging, for example, I'm big on saging. You know, and for those who might not know, saging is the aspect of using the plants, right? The sage plant. You light it, you smoke it, and you cleanse yourself with that smoke. And that smoke is cleansing to your energy field and cleanses away a lot of kind of junk that you might hold on to physically in your body or just emotionally. So I was really getting into a lot of natural elements like saging, getting into, you know, doing a lot more Native American flute stuff, but ancestrally, thinking about what were my ancestors doing for their healing practices. What were they doing for their for those elements. I'm sorry, I kind of got lost on that conversation there.
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, no, I was curious, just like how you're incorporating that, and what you're discovering. So I mean the saging element, and you said you were always really encouraged growing up to embrace that part of you.
Yeah, and we should all think about those elements. We should all be proud of who we are, and who our ancient peoples were, even though it might have been, our ancestors might not have done some great things. They might have been kind of terrific, but this is where I think this stops. We have the ability, it's a choice. We can say, hey, I'm going to stop, generational trauma from continuing, and this stops here with me, and I'm going to do this to continue on this path of light, and to continue on this path of higher consciousness, and to stop generational trauma, and to be the best version of myself that I can be, and to really bring a better sense of community to other people. And I think that, sharing who you are, and being open to sharing your culture, and being open to sharing your maybe traditional languages, or your, knowledge cures ignorance. And it's, what can I do to help somebody who might not know a lot about my culture, or my language, so that they can go forth and be more knowledgeable in a situation with somebody who might not be as knowledgeable, and to cure maybe some ignorance, or to help in a situation that can spread more consciousness.
Yeah. Grateful, man. Grateful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, grateful. I'm thinking this. Yeah. As I look at these palm trees, I'm thinking like, I have a final question, and would be curious also if you're open to it, to play a little music as a part of your final sharing, to kind of as a part of like sending us out. And yeah, man, I'm really grateful for your voice, and your consistency, and your faithfulness to these little elements, just the little elements and the little routines, as I hear you talk, it's very inspiring for me. And I pray also for those people who have listened today, where it's like, okay, what can I shift? What little thing could I add in? Like, okay, I want to study a little bit more about that. Or, music therapy. Speaking of music therapy, like, have you, so once you do you said you're finishing up your internship, and you'll work on the board certification, but like,
right
after that, I mean, whether you start your own LLC, can you do like would you take one-on-one clients where somebody could,
oh yeah, absolutely,
like Zoom in and have like a session, just a healing session with you, and anyway, is that something you see yourself doing like down the road?
Sure, absolutely. And I remember we had this conversation over lunch, but I see myself more as like a healer. I'm meant to help people through these different elements, through food, through possibly massage therapy, possibly through Reiki, through all these different kind of holistic natural elements. So if any of you are out there that are interested, and definitely reach out, and I would love to be able to just sit down and talk, and talk about food, or talk about wellness, and talk about spirituality, or whatever, but I would like to at some point kind of possibly get a natural doctor, whatever, NA or ND, who knows, who knows, but I think going forward I would like to incorporate a lot of more natural practices, body, mind, spirit kind of wellness things. So But yeah,
Well,
if you'd like,
I affirm your already gifts. You know what I'm saying? Like
thank you.
you all, yeah. I mean, I already just feel that energy, that presence that I know that if I hired you and was like, all right, let's start a once a month call where I get, where you just plan an hour for me of some sort of like
Hmm.
mindfulness meditation and music. I can imagine that just being game changing. So anyway, I also want to affirm where you're at right now and the gifts
Thank you.
you've already honed in and developed and are continuing to develop. Like, yeah. So
Thank you
whether
so much.
and if you end up becoming an ND, rock solid massage therapist, Reiki, all these other things, cheering you on in those as well. But I definitely want to affirm where you're at right now. Yeah, man, you've done courageous work already, and I'm just
Thank you.
I'm very inspired and impressed by the kindness that you exude and the hope, honestly, and the hope that you exude, that it's like, okay, I can like feel it when I was hanging out with you last week, and as we've been having this conversation, like, appreciate you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Aaron. I appreciate you, and I appreciate what you're doing with this platform,
Yeah.
and spreading light and spreading awareness, and just very blessed and grateful,
Yeah,
for
man.
these opportunities.
Yeah. Well, so the final question would be,
Yeah.
because again, I mean, I like, as I see you, I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, down the road at some point, you're going to be sharing your gifts on a stage for, perhaps a room full of 10, 20,000 people. They're going to show up. Maybe they're there for a weekend retreat of some sort. And you're a part of that weekend. You're a guest speaker. And a lot of people have actually come to the retreat because they're like, Nathan's going to be there.
Mm.
Nathan's going to be there. And I really want to I want to drop in and like hear what Nathan has to share.
Mm.
And I'm getting chills as I'm saying that. I'm getting all excited about it.
Oh, wow.
Like I'm like, because I feel like it's on its way.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the power I feel inside of you right now as
Thank you.
I'm talking. So it's like, so yeah, people are going to be showing up and getting very excited to like, all right, Nathan's here. And they're,
Mm.
some of them are going to have like their notepads out ready to like take notes on what you're going to share. Other
Mm.
people are just going to be like, just pumped to listen to you like play music at the end, right? I mean, they've already
Mm.
read your books, they've already followed your YouTube or your online reality, and they're like there, and they just are like, I just want to hear him play. I just want to hear him play. But if so, this is reality. This is reality. What would be 2 or 3 things that you would want to leave people with, as far as just life wisdom, life insights, where that they can take away, that they're going to walk away with and be like, okay, here we go,
Mhm.
here we go, here we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2 or 3 things, and then yeah, maybe after you share those, if you're open to playing a little bit for us, and then we'll kind of close after that. I would love,
Mm.
yeah. Anyway.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Aaron. So, two things that I would hope that individuals would get out of any kind of conversation or maybe a session with me is that we all have the ability to heal, right? It's all within us. We shouldn't compare ourselves to the next, right? We're all on our own journey. Be proud of who you are. Know that we have that light in us. We're not in nature designed to fight. We're not in nature designed to kill or harm. We are connected, right? We're constantly, they talked about the connected consciousness, but we all are connected. And with that connection, too, comes our connection to the earth, and understand that we are beings on this planet. We need to respect the planet. We need to appreciate the life that it gives us and to listen to it with all of its messages. Listen to, take your shoes off, stand on the ground with your bare feet, literally ground, and feel that connection to the earth. I guarantee you're going to feel better if you stand on the ground barefoot, and listen to the birds, listen to the trees, and be there, and be grateful for the gifts that Mother Earth gives to us. So with that being said, we're going to start with some deep breathing, and we'll take a deep breath in and out. A deep breath in and out. And one more. And out. And as you go forth in your day, remember that we are constantly trying to make this world better, spread light, spread kindness as much as we can. Thank you so much for having me on, Aaron.
Oh, Nathan, thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, super grateful. Super grateful, and yeah, very excited. Very excited for you and the people you're going to continue to touch in the days ahead, and pray that yeah, that this sharing connects you with other beautiful beings that that are excited to work alongside you and grow alongside you and learn with you and learn from you. And yeah, those of you who joined us today on, whether on YouTube or through the podcast, grateful for you. just for showing up for yourself and yeah, choosing to do the healing work you're doing. I just have a lot of respect and admiration for you, wherever you're at on your journey, whether you feel like you've just begun or whether you feel like you've been in the game a long time. Like, just big respect and appreciation to you and for you, for doing that work and for doing that releasing and doing that letting go and just learning to be and learning to connect and to the love inside of you. So just anyway, thank you, those of you who joined. This is episode 16 of our Healing Voices, and yeah, so grateful, Nathan. Yeah, we'll be sure to put your info in the description so people can connect with you after listening in. So namaste, y'all. Nathan, thank you so much, brother.
Thank you.